know God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Oh, God has smiled on me. I know He's been, I know He's been, really been good. He's been mighty, mighty good. Sure enough, He's been, I know He's been good. He's been better to me than I could be to myself. He's been good. Anybody know He's been good? Can I get a witness? He's good. Really been good, y'all. He really been good, y'all. Really been good to me. Keep on blessing me. Keep on making ways for me. I know He's been good. Oh yeah, He's been good to me. Amen. Want to recognize Sister Jones. I think that's Mika. Is that right? Mika. Good to see you, Mika. Amen. She's doing good. She's in real estate. She's a realtor. She's a coach in the school district, and a big supporter of First Missionary Baptist Church. God bless you, Mika. Good to see you. Amen. So good to see Brother Yancey as well. Amen. Bless you, man. Good to see you. In the Old Testament book of 1 Samuel, the 17th chapter, for your personal understanding, I want to encourage you to read this chapter in its entirety at your own discretion. But I'm going to read verses 48 through 53. The Old Testament book of 1 Samuel, the 17th chapter, and verses 48 through 53. The Old Testament book of 1 Samuel, the 17th chapter, verses 48 through 53. And it came to pass, when the Philistine arose and came and drew nigh to meet David, that David hasted and ran toward the army to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand in his bag and took thence a stone and slang it and smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him. But there was no sword in the hand of David. Therefore David ran and stood upon the Philistine, and took his sword, and drew it out of the sheath thereof, and slew him, and cut off his head therewith. And when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled. And the men of Israel and of Judah arose and shouted, and pursued the Philistines until thou come to the valley and to the gates of Ekron. And the wounded of the Philistines fell down by the way to Shaarim, even unto Gath and unto Ekron. And the children of Israel returned from chasing after the Philistines, and they spoiled their tents. In that 49th verse, David put his hand in his bag and took thence a stone and sling it and smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sunk into his forehead. And here's the part that I want to, spotlight. And he fell upon his face to the earth. I want to talk from subject, giants do fall. Giants do fall. Amen. Thank you, Urshas. Thank you. Thank you so much. This chapter, the 17th chapter of 1 Samuel, opens with a conflict in progress. Israel is battling against the Philistines. This conflict has been going on for quite some time. It's been going on for several years. There was a conflict in progress at the beginning of this chapter. The Bible does not keep us in the dark concerning conflicts. Conflicts do exist. Even as I speak, there are many conflicts that are taking place. I'm sure you'll agree with me when I tell you there is a political conflict. Political parties are always battling against each other. There are family conflicts. Even though we know it's not supposed to be, yet sometimes family members are fighting against each other. There are families in the church. There are church families that's amid conflict. The church is a place where folks should go and find peace and be able to worship God. But sometime in some churches, when they go, they find themselves in the middle of a conflict. And all of us as believers know that we are in a spiritual conflict. We have a spiritual battle taking place in our lives. The flesh is warring against the spirit. Yes, if you're honest as a child of God trying to live and please God, you got a fight on your hands. Yes, nobody gives me as much trouble as I do. Because the old me is battling against the new me. There's a conflict going on. Paul talked about it in Romans chapter 7. He said there's a war among my members. He says when I would do good, evil is present with me. He went on to say the things I'm not supposed to do. Sometimes I end up doing it. And sometimes the things I ought to do, I fail to do it because there's a battle going on. This chapter begins with a conflict. Now, in this 17th chapter, we are privileged to see a young man by the name of David for the third time. The first time we see him is in the 16th chapter of 1 Samuel. As a matter of fact, in the 16th chapter, we saw him on two separate occasions. The first time we saw David was when Mr. Jesse, his daddy, sent for him to come out the field and come in, and he was anointed by the prophet Samuel to become Israel's next king. And the second time we saw him in the 16th chapter was pretty close to the end of that 16th chapter because Saul had an evil spirit, and David was recommended to come and play his harp before King Saul, who was king of Israel. And so that when Saul was in that evil mood, David would play and sing to calm him down. And so in this 17th chapter, we see David for the third time. And when we look at him, we see him facing a man by the name of Goliath. Now, in this 17th chapter, brothers and sisters, teaches us several things. When I look at David here for the third time, I see that God can make a hero out of the most unlikely person. I mean, who would have ever thought that David would rise to be a hero? Right here in this 17th chapter, nobody expected it. Nobody thought that this would happen on this order. God can take the most unlikely person and make them a hero. God can take a zero and turn them into a hero. Are y'all listening to me? The very folk you think, or very person you might think who will never amount to anything, God can take that person and use them to do great things. And so he rises to heroism. He becomes a hero. But this chapter also teaches us through David's experience that you ought to always treat folk right. Because the very person you mistreat and talk about might be your hero. Amen. Be careful what you say about folk, because you don't know what God has in store for them. Yes, but then thirdly, this chapter teaches us, my brothers and sisters, it teaches us that giants do fall. Yes, they do fall. When Moses talked about giants, he was speaking in reference to what some of the spies said when they were sent in to spy the land of Canaan. In Numbers chapter 13, he sent 12 men to spy out the land of Canaan, and when they came back with their report, 10 of them brought back a negative report. And their report was to Moses and all Israel, said, the land is a great land. It is a land of plenty. But we saw giants over there. And in our sight, they were giants and we looked like grasshoppers. Yes, but it was Joshua and Caleb who spoke up and said, we can get them. Because giants do fall. And Moses talked about it in Deuteronomy chapter 9, verse 2, that because those people were of great stature and because they were very tall and big, they were classified as giants. And so when we look here in this 17th chapter of 1 Samuel, we see one who was looked upon as a giant. But the text lets us know that he failed. Now, David was able to conquer this giant. And listen, this text, the reason why I was moved and led to deal with this today, because all of us need to know that we too find ourselves facing some giants in our lives. Am I right about it? Yes, well, with that in mind, as we look at the text, we see first of all the importance of identifying the giants. If you look in verse 4 of this 17th chapter of 1 Samuel, listen to what it says. It says, and there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. Now, the scripture identifies this fella. He is known by the name of Goliath. Are y'all listening to me? This is the identity of the giant. And listen, in order for us to deal with the giants, we need to know that our giants have a name. Yes, the giants got a name. You need to identify who your giants are. Are y'all with me here? Yes, our giants have a name. Let me just tell you some of the names of some of the giants that we have to deal with. There's a giant called fear. To some folk, fear is a giant. They just scared of everything. Are you listening to me? They're just afraid. They live in fear. Scared to leave the house. Scared to go back to the house. Scared to cut off light. Scared to turn on the light. Just scared. Scared to pray. Scared to read the Bible. Scared to tithe. Scared of the devil. Just scared. Fear is a giant. And then with some folk, anger is their giant. Can't control their temper. Are y'all listening to me? Quick to get mad. Getting mad at the smallest little old thing. Some folk, anger is their giant because when they get mad, they jump in the car and they drive like they own a speedway. Yeah, some folk, they get mad. Some folk can't sing in the choir. Can't usher at the door because they get mad too quick. And when they get mad, they quit. Yes. Anger is a giant with some folk. Reason why some folk can't keep a mate because they got an anger problem. I hope y'all praying with me this morning. Then addiction is another giant. Some folk are addicted to some things. Yes, some addicted to alcohol, drugs, pornography. Yes, there are many who have an addiction, and addiction is their giant. Sickness can be a giant. Am I right about it? Jealousy can be a giant. Loneliness can be a giant. Depression can be a giant. Pride can be a giant. Poverty can be a giant. Lust can be a giant. Divorce can be a giant. Yeah, some person in your life might be your giant. Financial trouble might be your giant. Tardiness might be your giant. Can't get to nothing on time. Unemployment may be your giant. Can't keep a job. Yeah. There are all kinds of giants. Are y'all listening to me? And the text teaches me that you got to know their names. Identify your giant. And isn't it strange how we don't meet this fella until we get to the 17th chapter, 1 Samuel. As a matter of fact, we don't meet him until David has showed up at the army. And listen, some folk don't know their giants. Some folk feel like they don't have no problems. Are y'all listening to me? It's important that you know who your giant is. And everybody got some giants to deal with because sin is a giant. Amen. So identify your giant. Then secondly, we see that the intimidation of the giant. Now when you read in this chapter, you'll see that the Bible talks about Goliath, how big he was, talks about his size, and talked about his stuff, and talked about what he said. And the scripture tells us that he would come and he would challenge the Israelite army, saying that who will send a man down here to fight me? The record says that they were in the valley called Elah, and he would step down in that valley and challenge the Israelites, saying, who big and bad enough to come down here and fight me? Said that if y'all win, we'll be your slaves. If we win, you all be our slaves. And so he would talk to them bad. And Israel, when they saw him coming, they got scared because they felt intimidated by this giant. He was like the bully in the valley. You know what a bully is. A bully is someone who uses physical, emotional, and verbal intimidation to try to control somebody else. Yes, he's a bully. Look at him. Because of his size, because of his stuff, and because of what he says, he's a bully. You know what a bully is. We children know about bullies. Some children experience bullies at the school, and then some folk experience bullies at the house. Are y'all listening to me? Yeah, some folk work with some bullies. Yeah, some folk got some bullies at church. There are bullies in the pulpit. Yeah, bullies. We all know about bullies, folk who try to run over you and intimidate you and control you. Bullies. They're male bullies, female bullies, they're husband bullies, they're wife bullies. Yes, all kind of bullies. Rich bullies, poor bullies, smart bullies, not so smart bullies, wise bullies, foolish bullies, all kind of bullies. He was a bully. He was a bully, and look at him. We see that he intimidated them by being deceitful. You know, that junk he was talking about said, if y'all send a man and beat us, we'll be your slave. That was a lie. Because when he got beat, they didn't give themselves in to be slaves. Text said they took off running. Are y'all listening to me? Yes. Folk will intimidate you with lies. Yes, they'll lie to you. Yeah, and then he defied the army of the living God. He talked about them saying, y'all ain't nothing and your God ain't nothing. Yes, he sought to intimidate them. And you know, the devil is a bully. He'll try to turn you against God. Are y'all praying with me? He'll try to tell you, how you gonna keep on trusting the Lord? If God was so good to you, why ain't all your bills paid? If God is so good to you, why are you still by yourself? If God is so good to you, why your marriage failed? If God is so good to you, why you stay sick? He'll try to turn you against God. Are y'all listening to me? He always has negative things to say about the people of God and about the Lord himself. Yeah, but then the text tells us the duration of this intimidation. For 40 consecutive days, he intimidated the people of Israel. 40 days straight, he challenged them. Yes, and you know, my brothers and my sisters, some folk have been intimidated consecutively for days, for months, and for years. Yes, my brothers and my sisters, it's the same old thing over and over again. Yes, he keeps on doing the same thing. One thing about a giant will stay there and keep on messing with you day after day. Yes, same thing. He sought to intimidate him, and he seeks to intimidate you and I. He'll try to make you think you can't live right. Look at all the wrong you've done. Yeah, you ain't nothing. Them folk ain't gonna accept you. Look at how you've been living. You think them folk gonna accept you into the church? You ain't no good. You ain't good enough for them. He'll try to intimidate you. Are y'all listening to me? Yes, he will intimidate you. But then this giant was an inherited giant. Now, this was not David's giant. No. This giant was one that Saul was supposed to have been going up against. But Saul was scared to challenge him. Are y'all listening to me? Yes, and the Philistines or the Philistines have always been an army that was against Israel. They've been fighting against these folk for a long time. And so this was an inherited giant. And oh, brothers and sisters, you know, there's some stuff we've been dealing with in our lives because we inherited it. Yes, we inherited it. You understand? It was inherited. Yes, we got some stuff. We inherited some stuff that happened in our family. We didn't start it. It was already going on. We inherited it. You ain't got to say nothing right here, but just think about it. We inherited some stuff. Yeah, that some of us had drunkenness in our family. Some of us had players in our family. Wife beaters in our family. Liars in the family. Yes, it's some stuff we inherited that we've had to deal with. Conflicts we've had to deal with. We didn't start it. It was already there. But here this text teaches us that just because it's been in the family, it ain't got to stay in the family. At some point or another, we got to break the cycle. Yeah. Just because daddy was a player don't mean I got to be one. Yeah. That's an example I'm trying to use. You understand what I'm saying? Just because they messed up don't mean I got to mess up. Eh? Are you understanding me? Yeah. At some point now you gotta break the cycle. Yes, gotta break the cycle. Yes, just because you inherited it. Don't use it as an excuse. Say, well, it's always been in the family, and so I might as well just go along with it. No, God wants us to do something to face the giants. Oh, this text lets me know that they can fall. Well, as I almost come to a close, the question comes, how did David conquer the giant? What did he do so that the giant could fall? I believe we look at what David did, it'll help us see how we can conquer the giants in our lives. Yes, first of all, I see that he was victorious because he was on the Lord's side. Yeah, so you know if you're going to overcome the giants, you got to be on the Lord's side. Yes, he was on the reason why Goliath lost, he was on the wrong side. Yes, he was on you can't go against God and win. David was on the Lord's side. Am I right about it? So if we're gonna conquer the giants in our lives, we must choose to be on the Lord's side. Yeah, got to be on the Lord's side. You can't be on two sides. You can't be on the world's side and the Lord's side at the same time. You know, the Bible says that choose ye this day who you gonna serve. Elijah said, how long are you going to be between two opinions? Yes, you can't have one foot in the church and the other one in the world. You got to choose whose side you're going to be on. If you're going to conquer the giants, you got to be on the Lord's side. Yes, David was on the Lord's side. Yeah, but not only was he on the Lord's side, but the text lets me know he was in the Lord's will. His father had sent him down to the battle line to check on his brothers to see if all was well. And David was obedient to his father. Went down there and took some food and stuff to check on his brothers. Yes, and because his daddy sent him there, he got to hear the Philistine giant for himself. And it stirred up something in David's bosom. Yes, think about it. If he had not been obedient to his daddy, he would have missed out on something that God intended for him to do. And you know, my brothers and my sisters, how we treat one another is important as to whether or not God will exalt us and use us to his glory. Yeah, children, you can't be disobedient to your parents and expect to overcome the giants in your life. Yes, husband, you can't mistreat your wife and expect to conquer the giants in your life. Wife, you can't mistreat and abuse or neglect your husband and expect to conquer the things in your life. No, you can't be a lousy church member and think God gonna give you victory over the giants in your life. Yeah, you got to be walking in the will of God. Am I right about it? Romans 12 said, present your body a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. Yeah, God wants us to be in his will. Yes, he wants us to do that which is acceptable unto him. And so you got to be in the Lord's will. And the way to be in the Lord's will is to be obedient to the Lord's word. And so because he was in the Lord's will, he was able to conquer the giant. But then thirdly, he was victorious because he knew he was in the Lord's hands. David knew whose hand he was in. He knew that he was in the Lord's hand. He admitted it when he spoke to King Saul. Saul, he told him, sir, I'm not afraid of this man. Yes, he said that I'll go down there and fight him. He expressed this to show that he had courage to face this giant. And you know, when you're in the Lord's hand, God will give you courage. Am I right about it? He'll give you boldness to face the giants of your life. David said, yes, I'm willing to go down and fight him. But then David not only had courage, but he had strong conviction. Saul said, well, if you're going to go fight him, you need to wear my armor. And you know, you got to be careful about using somebody else's stuff. Now, if his armor was that good, why come he didn't put it on himself and go down there and fight against the giant? Am I right about it? But David had some strong convictions. He said, I can't use this stuff. I can't use what belongs to you. I can't do you. I got to do me. He said, what you gonna fight with? He said, I got a slingshot. I'm gonna go down there and get me some rocks. And I'll go down and I'll meet him. Am I right about it? And you know, if you're gonna conquer the giants in your life, you can't be somebody else. You just got to be you. Am I right about it? Yes, he says, I can't use this stuff. He tried it on, but he took it off. And I believe here today, yes, there's some things we must be willing to pull off if you're going to conquer the giants in your life. But then David had strong confidence. Yeah, he said, I'm willing to go and fight against this giant. And Saul said, well, you can't handle him because you don't have enough experience. David said, Your Majesty, let me tell you something. I'm a keeper of sheep. And a lion and a bear came up and took one of my daddy's sheep. And I chased after them and I killed both the lion and the bear. And the same God who blessed me to kill a lion and a bear will give me victory over this uncircumcised Philistine. Am I right about it? David said, I trusted God then, and I'm trusting God now. Have I got a witness? Anybody here know that the same God that brought you through trouble in the past can get you through your trouble in the present? Am I right about it? He said, I'm going down and I will face this giant. Yes, he knew he was in the Lord's hand. Have I got a witness? And as I close it, let me tell you, when you know you're in the Lord's hand, you're in good hands. Am I right about it? The best hand you can be in is the Lord's hand. Ain't God all right? But finally, there's one more thing David did that gave him the victory. He magnified the Lord's name. Ain't God all right? When he stood there before that giant, the giant said, boy, I'll feed your flesh to the fowls of the air and to the beasts of the field. David said, you come to me with a sword and a spear and with a shield, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts. Yes, you got weapons, but I got a name. Ain't God all right? Anybody here know when you got the Lord's name, you got all you need? Have I got a witness? He knew he had the powerful name of the Lord. Ain't God all right? Somebody here know and can testify with me saying, when you have the Lord's name, you can overcome anything. Have I got a witness? With his name, you can conquer any giant in your life. Ain't God all right? His name is a precious name. His name is a powerful name. His name is a portable name. Mean you can take it with you everywhere you go. Ain't God all right? His name is worth singing about. His name is worth talking about. His name is worth calling on. Ain't God all right? Oh yeah, there's power in his name. There's no name like the name of Jesus. Ain't God all right? Anybody here know anything about the name of Jesus? Ain't God all right? His name is above every name. Yeah! His name conquers everything. Ain't God all right? His name, every knee will bow. And his name, every tongue will confess. Have I got a witness? Since the Bible said, at his name, every tongue will confess. That means every atheist, every Buddhist, every Muslim gonna have to bow and confess his name and say, Jesus is Lord. Ain't God all right? David said, I come to you in the name of the Lord. The Bible said David had some stones. The Bible said he got 5 smooth stones. Have I got a witness? Wonder why did he get 5? I can't tell it all, but one thing I do know, 5 is the number of grace. Ain't God all right? It means favor. Ain't God all right? When God's favor is on your life, you'll come out victorious. Ain't God all right? But he only used one. David, how did you get him? He said, I had a rock. Ain't God all right? I used that rock and I brought him down. Ain't God all right? Anybody here got a piece of the rock? I'm not talking about credential. Do you hear me? I'm talking about Jesus, the rock of ages. Anybody here know anything about Jesus. Ain't God all right? David said he fell to the ground. Now wait a minute. When he fell to the ground, David said, I needed to cut his head off. I didn't have no sword. Now I remember when he tried to use Saul's sword, he said he hadn't proven it. He had a hard time using Saul's sword, but he saw Goliath's sword. Goliath's sword was much bigger than Saul's sword, but yet David picked up Goliath's sword and cut off Goliath's head. It's amazing what you can do when you got the name of the Lord. You can conquer anything in his name. Ain't God all right? Well, one Friday evening on a hill called Calvary, Jesus took care of our giant called sin. He died. He was buried, but early Sunday morning he rose from the dead. He lives. Anybody here know he lives? Well, the Philistines had Goliath, but David had God. Ain't God all right? The Philistine was their champion, but Christ was with David. I'd rather have Jesus than anybody. When you got Jesus, you got all you need. Am I right about it? Ain't it been good? Ain't it all right? God bless you. Giants do fall. I want to extend the invitation